Hello and welcome to another Miniature Realms video. So hot on the heels of the unboxing of the British 8th Army inventory from Warlord Games. This is the other element to the mini side project which will lead into something bigger next year. That was already planned. And I wanted to build and paint a tank. I haven't done so for my own collection for quite a while, and most of those have been Horus Heresy ones, and I really wanted to do some weathering on a tank that I haven't done for ages. So the other part of the little scratching a hobby itch at the moment was to paint something early, which I'm intend to use next year. To go with my 8th Army, I chose to do a Stuart tank. So I was chatting to Ken from Miniature Wargaming Warriors, and he put me onto the Warlord Games British 8th Army inventory sprue, which I've already done an unboxing for, so you may have seen that. If not, go and check the channel. I told him I wanted to use a Stuart tank, and he said just to check out the Rubicon model stuff as well. And I did, and I've kind of purchased one of each really. The bolt action one was, the Warlord Games one was on offer. Now the Rubicon kit is an M5A1, and looking into it, I don't think it could be built as an M3, so I don't think I'll be using this kit right now. Looking at the theatre selectors that I'm going to have to use, I think the M3 is going to be the only option. But I thought, well, I've got both kits here. It'd be really handy to sort of compare and contrast them a little bit. I heard some really good things about Rubicon models, had a look on their website. So what I'm going to do is kind of have a look at both sets of sprues, and then I'll come back with one of them built. I'm not going to build the M5A1 yet, just in case I don't use it. I would rather leave it on sprue so I could sell it, but at least compare them on sprue and see how it goes. So let's start with the Rubicon models kit and just look at the sprues and see what we think. So what do we get? Get the glare out of the way. So we get a fairly modern looking instruction set. Looks nicely presented and very clear. Looks very clear and concise. And I won't know how good that is, obviously, until I've followed them and built it. But yeah, it looks everything you could possibly need. There are some decals or transfers, depending on what you want to call them. Looks like there's a mix of nations there. I wouldn't know what would need to go where without researching it, but they look pretty good. And then we have the two sprues. I will take them out of plastic. So the first sprue. So you've got your main hull of the tank. Now this is all very new to me. Having, in terms of vehicles, I've not built anything other than a Games Workshop vehicle for God knows how long, many years. The closest to sort of non-inventory or monster models that I've built myself would have been through War Machine, some of their larger things as well, and they were generally resin or metal. I know a few of the newer kits, there is a form of plastic, but this kind of hard styrene plastic. So it looks okay. The detail looks fairly crisp. Looks like it's fairly simple. There's not too many parts to the kit, and looking at the instructions, I wouldn't be looking at this and thinking, oh my god. Maybe it's for years of building Forge World era Horus Heresy tanks and things. It kind of takes away the pain of some of the more complicated builds. Being able to click this off and glue it together using plastic cement would be something I'd think was quite enjoyable. But it looks like a fairly easy to sort of build kit, and it looks fairly crisply made, and I can see why people will think that Rubicon have made some good tanks at the moment. So I'd never heard of them until I did a bit of research the other day after they were mentioned to me. So genuinely the first time I've opened this, because this has just arrived about 10 minutes before I started recording this. Let's see what the Warlord one looks like in comparison. So what do you get? So you get little smoke markers. That's really cool. So you have to make them yourself, but I wouldn't have expected that to be in there. That's a nice touch. Now, you veteran bolt action players may well already know you always get that stuff. Maybe you don't always get it, but I think it's a really cool touch. I'm a fan of stat cards in games. Hate flicking through pages of a book. So that's really, really nice. And you get one for the standard M3 and one for the M3A1. And I'll be building the M3. I really like that. That's a nice little touch. Obviously, you wouldn't expect that to be in the Rubicon kit because they're building the kits just for general, not for a particular game. And there we have some M3 decals as well. That's the kind of look I'll be going for as well. So may well have everything I need there. I should say about the price of the kits, I will pop them up on the screen now for you because I can't remember off the top of my head. So here we have the instruction booklet from Warlord. Let's get that all in shot there. And this is what I'll be building. And again, looks like fairly well laid out instruction booklet. So it looks like the plastic kit is an Italiari one. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe slightly more complicated. Looks like the tracks are in separate parts. But nothing that scares me. And again, it may depend on your experience building models and things. If you're new to, if it was my 6-year-old son, there's no way he could build this, so to speak, but it looks pretty good. And the final bit, let's get the trusty knife on the bag. Look at the first frame. Let's get that out of shot. Again, I start with the underside of a frame. Let's flick it over. To me, it looks a little bit crisper, but it may just be the colour of the plastic. But to me, that looks slightly crisper. And you've got tank crew, which is cool. Be interested to see how well they scale with the Warlord's inventory. I've heard things about some kits not scaling well against the others. Let's look at the next frame. All looks pretty straightforward. Maybe the separate tracks on here are going to be a little bit more tricky than the ones on the Rubicon models. If I pull that over, I'll have a little bit of a size comparison on the holes there. They're clearly different. The Warlord one is clearly a bit smaller, so maybe the scale's not quite right on it. Obviously they are different, so maybe a bit stupid there, perhaps, of those comments, because one's the Rubicon one is the M5A1, so it would have evolved a little bit. So yeah, it was a bit of a dumb comment, but the Warlord one does look a little bit smaller, so I don't know how much of it was a rebuild or just the tank evolving. But because the tracks aren't whole, I can't really compare with the track size too much either. But it may well just be the colour of the plastic. But the Warlord one, stroke Italiari one, looks, I don't know, looks a little bit crisper to me. But as I said, I have heard really good things about these Rubicon tanks as well. So, but until I've built them both, I wouldn't really know. I'm definitely going to build the Warlord one because I'm going to use it now. The Rubicon model, we'll wait and see. I may have to save that for a different theatre of war in the future. Right, well, I'll cut away now and I'll come back with this built. That won't be a few minutes in my time. Will just be a few seconds in yours. And here we are, all done. Let me just move the box out of the way so we can have a closer look. Right then, I'll get him focused in. No, I had loads of fun doing this. It's been the first time in God knows how many years that I've built a tank of this size, actually. So I've built loads and loads of tank kits, not historical tanks, I admit, but loads of Forge World and obviously Games Workshop tanks as well. And they're obviously quite sizable compared to this. But I had loads of fun doing it. They're, you know, it's slightly fiddlier parts because they're small. It's like building an old model kit rather than building a wargaming kit in many ways. But I had lots of fun doing it, and I can't wait to paint it. That's one of the reasons why I kind of jumped ahead of my plans a little bit and purchased a couple of little things for my what will be my 2022 bolt action project. Now, as I said at the beginning, I'm new to bolt action kits, and it's hard to really compare how this would have been versus building the other kit I showed at the beginning, or any of the other kits that Warlord sell, whether they're through their own designers or whether they're bought ones like this one here. This design is possibly bought from Tayari. I'm not sure, but I enjoyed doing it. I found it pretty easy to do. The instructions were good. Got no major comments on it other than that. There's some bits that are going to be quite delicate. So as a gaming piece, I have a few concerns. I don't know what the wider community feel. I'd love to see in the comments what people think of these tanks, why they're good or why they're not good, and why this company's better or why that company's better. It'd be really, really interesting, because this is a completely new system to me. So I'd be quite interested to sort of get an idea of what the general consensus is. I haven't got the crew member in at the moment. I'm not so sure. I don't think he's even going to balance in. I'm not so sure I'm going to use him. I'm not a massive fan of the sculpt. There we are. It's a pretty basic sculpt, and scale wise you can see that he's quite a bit smaller than I suppose what would be heroic scale 28. I think that would be the fair thing to call the Warlord Games British. I'm not sure how well this scales. It obviously wasn't the largest of tanks. I've got a feeling it might be slightly on the small side, and maybe that's why some people prefer some other manufacturers. Again, let me know in the comments. Let me know what's good about this, what's not. I'm quite happy with it as it is. I think it's quite cool. But I may well find when I start putting the force together and playing some games and things, I may well find there's things wrong with it. I definitely feel it's a little bit delicate to use in wargaming, so that'll be one thing that's interesting. Anyway, I'm rabbiting on now. Overall, I was pretty pleased with the purchase. I think it's good value, especially on the sale. I got it at the moment, which you saw with the prices I popped up on the screen earlier. Going to be a couple more bolt action videos as I talk about my little sort of side project, and as I get these things painted, I'll no doubt share and talk about them. So if you're a bolt action fan, subscribe to the channel because there will be some stuff going up there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon.